Hey guys, this is Comic Uno, and today I'm doing Comic Uno's Best Comics of the Week. So let's get started. We go to least favorite to best pick of the week. So, number 11. Yeah, we have 11 comics this week, a lot better than last week's number. And then next week I think I have about 14 comics or so it's nice to see these numbers going up a bit for our pull list. So, going into number 11, honestly, I liked all my books this week. I thought everything was pretty solid. There's no really least favorite, but obviously that's the order we're working with. But number 11 for me is Fantastic Four Empyre issue 0. I like this issue a lot more than the Avengers issue, in which honestly I'm not reading Avengers, so that could definitely be the reason why I picked it up for the event and to see where the event is going, and I just haven't been really loving the Avengers title. Now I have been really enjoying Fantastic Four. I think it's a great run from Dan Slott, some of his best writing in the last couple of years, and I feel like that definitely came into this issue 0. I honestly like the family moments and the smaller moments in this issue more than the actual Empyre stuff. I'm still a little worried about this event. Issue 1's going to really tell it for me if I'm going to continue with the event and really go full throttle with it. But yeah, so far the actual event itself hasn't really excited me, the Kree versus Skrull War. But I really liked the whole casino scenes with Valeria and Franklin, and I loved how their mom tried helping them out here, and I liked that whole entire deal that they ended up doing, and it was interesting to see a Skrull slash Kree children tied to all this adventure, so I thought that was interesting. Also, the artwork was really good for this book. Obviously, for event title, you want to have some splendid artwork, and I thought it was very sleek. Really good colors here. Probably the best we've seen for the Fantastic Four series in a while. So I'm going to give Empyre issue 0, Fantastic Four, 3 stars. I thought it was a pretty good issue. If you're following Fantastic Four, it's nice to have some more Fantastic Four, but I don't know if it really sold me on the Empyre event, and again, still a little worried about that. But let's get into number 10. So number 10 for me, actually a better issue than I think that the series has been in a while, and that is Young Justice issue 16. So this issue, what I liked about it is that it condenses stuff a little bit. It's only really focusing on 2 characters, and really the main point is with Bart Allen, where we get to see that he's kind of screwed stuff up. We see a future where the Young Justice team is dead, and he explains this. Now, I do think there's still the issues of what this series has had. A lot of cluttered dialogue, a ton of exposition. I think it could be told in a different way, but I thought the story was more interesting, and in some regards less cluttered because they were only focusing on 2 characters. As always, I think the artwork's really solid for this book, even if the dialogue kind of takes up all that space for the art. But I thought this was a better direction, and I don't know how next issue is going to be with them joining or going to see the Justice League, but I thought this was a pretty good standalone issue to see the effects of the DC Universe and what's going to happen to Bart Allen. So Young Justice issue 16 gets 3 stars, and that is number 10. Moving on to number 9. This book also got a little better, and that is Batman the Adventures Continues issue 2. Now, for issue 1, I read most of those, all of them actually, all the chapters digitally. It was during the time that there were no comics coming out, and I had the opportunity to read them, and I'm like, why not cover some of these chapters for the channel? Which just seemed like you guys liked that. Now, I personally didn't love the story for the book to continue it digitally, and I really do like buying my books mostly physically. So when I knew there was going to be a physical copy available and when those were going to start coming out, I was like, all right, I'm going to switch this to physically. And I really feel like the way I read it was so much better, and I do think the story overall just picked up in these couple of chapters / second issue, where we get to see Deathstroke trying to play friendly with the Bat family and try to get them on his side. I thought was really, really interesting. We got Jason Todd, I think he's Jason Todd. I'm pretty sure they've confirmed that Jason lurking in the background. What's cool is that we don't really know his connection to this universe. Was he previously Robin? Does he know Batman? Or are they taking a whole different take on it? So, also it's just nice seeing like Tim and Barbara. Last issue was really Batman heavy. What I like about the Batman in the Anime series world is that we do get some really fleshed out supporting characters and fleshed out villains. Now, that's kind of the issue I have here. I do feel like the The action sequences are still a little bare. Even some of the dialogue I feel like could be punched up a little bit more. I don't know if the emotional resonance is really hitting, but I do think the plot is getting more interesting, and I hope that makes the dialogue and the character work a bit more heightened as well. So artwork, as always, I think is really good. I like the simplicity of it. It's supposed to be cartoony. I think it works for this book, and it's cool to kind of see a different view of Deathstroke and Jason Todd. So Batman the Avengers Continues issue 2 gets 3.5 stars, and that is number 9. Moving on to number 8, which is Strange Academy, issue 2. I really enjoyed this issue. I was surprised because issue 1, I liked it, but I felt like it could kind of go either way. I'm not a huge magic fan, and it just in regular storytelling and in the Marvel Universe, I don't really like many magic characters besides probably Illyana, and that's more for the X-Men side of stuff. But I enjoyed this one. I felt like we learned a little bit more about the characters, but I really felt like by mid-issue, it really picked up once we got to Illyana, which again, maybe because I just really like Illyana, but her teaching Hell and sending one of her late students to Hell, I thought was hysterical, and I just loved her and her dad jokes. So loved Illyana here, and I like seeing the day go by through our main character. We got to learn a little bit about the characters. I don't know if I know everything about them, and I don't know if I'm like completely sucked into this world yet, but I do think it did a really good job at world building and building this school and understanding that, and understanding somewhat that's in New Orleans. So I like that. Our work is okay. I do think it's a little crowded at times, but overall, it did well for me to want to pick up a next issue. I don't know if I'm extremely excited for the next issue, but I'm definitely intrigued to see where the series goes. So Strange Academy issue 2 gets 3.5 stars, and that is number 8, I believe. Moving on to number 7. These are all 4 stars and above, so a lot of 4-star books this week, and that is Adventureman issue 2. This was a much better issue than issue 1, and I liked issue 1, but since we're just focusing on Claire and her family, it's a little bit more coherent, the issue. And I will say it's still slow. We still don't know much about Adventureman. We don't really know where Claire's journey is taking her, but I kind of like that it takes their time, and we get to hear Claire's voice and her unique perspective of the world as someone who deals with books all the time, who lives in a large family, and I really enjoyed that in the way that she thinks, and just seeing more of that family dynamic. Artwork is gorgeous for this book, and yeah, I kind of like that it's taking its time. I do wish we got a little bit more into the world, but I like this issue. I thought it was really solid, and looking forward to seeing where the series goes. So Adventureman issue 2 gets 4 stars, and that is number 7. Moving on to number 6. Number 6 for me is Willow issue 1. I was actually kind of surprised by this. This is probably my most anticipated book for the week, and still a very solid read. It's just that there's, like I said, a lot of good books this week, and I thought that this one was a little slower. Now, I love Mariko Tamaki's writing, and I think she did a really, really good job with the dialogue here and getting into Willow's head following the events of Hellmouth, and I think an even better job than what Buffy has been doing, because I think some of the Hellmouth events were really cluttered, and I just feel like they told that story too soon, where we didn't understand these versions of the characters to have such a big event like that. So I kind of like that this book slows it down, but I do think there's like a lot of back and forth. So we get to see that Willow goes to London. She leaves London rather quickly, goes to Sunnydale, and then she's like, okay, I can't be here either. So it's a lot of like back and forth in this issue, and visually I kind of wish it was a little bit more exciting, but I do like just the self-journey and a self-discovery journey, and you definitely hit that mark by the end of the issue, and I think the monologuing is really the expertise here, and I really enjoyed Willow's voice and just seeing her alone and seeing her not crowded with the other Scooby Gang and kind of knowing who Willow is without them, I thought was interesting. And something I was also really impressed with is the artist who does Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. It usually has a very cartoony look to their work, and I like that it kind of had that style, but still felt a little bit more mature, really owning into those facial expressions and the character work that Tamaki was creating here. So I really enjoyed the artwork, and I thought that was some of the best parts of the issue. Now, obviously going to get issue 2. I'm excited for this one to rail up a bit, but it was a little bit of a slow simmered issue. So I'm giving that 4 stars, and that is number 6. Moving on to number 5. Number 5 for me, this arc has gotten really a lot better, and that is for me personally. I know a lot of people have been enjoying it, but Batman issue 94 got that art germ cover as well. And yeah, things are really picking up, where we get to see Batman is injured and doesn't care and is trying to figure out where Catwoman is. Catwoman is also injured. I missed that she got shot last issue, but she got shot, and I love the little moment where Tynion has a call back to the Bat-Cat moments of Tom King's run, and things are not going well. Joker really has everybody in check right now, and Batman's, really trying not to get into checkmate and lose this game. And I think it was a really good way to build up to Joker War and get us excited for this first event. And I like that Batman and his family is kind of losing everything, and you really feel that with this issue. And it was a really well done, character driven issue. Good action overall. I liked Albuquerque's work a lot, and just the idea of how Tynion sees Gotham and how Batman sees Gotham as well. And I love the Alfred beats. I love because Alfred's not here, there's definitely a missing piece to the puzzle to make all this work, and to make the Joker not be doing all these things and to defeat him. So I think that's really interesting. Now, the reason this is a little lower, I'm still not a huge fan of the present day artwork. I do think that some of the facial expressions are a little off sometimes. And I don't know, the best way I can explain it is that a lot of characters look wrinkly. There's just a lot of line work going on. So I wasn't a huge fan of that. But overall, I thought this was a really solid issue. And like I said, very excited to see where Joker War goes. And I'm getting some of the tie-ins. I'm not getting all of them, just the books I usually buy. Let me see what the checklist is. The checklist is not in the back of this book, so I guess we will have to find out another day which ones I'm getting. But I'm getting like Batgirl and stuff like that. But yes, Batman issue 94 gets 4 stars, and that is number 5. All right, moving on to number 4, and that is Sabrina the Teenage Witch issue 2. Really, really solid issue. We get to see some really good slice of life stuff here, but also just a good Sabrina issue, where Sabrina finds out that her aunts are behind the Wendigo storyline with 2 of her classmates, one that she's romantically inclined towards, and she doesn't know how to deal with that. And I really like that this whole issue kind of takes that in, and her trying to figure out, well, how am I supposed to help these 2 people while not talking to my aunts, and who do I trust? I'm right now being friends with my enemy, and I thought I could trust my aunts, but I can't. And I thought that whole entire scenario was really interesting. And we get to see, because she's a teenager and because she's Sabrina and she didn't axe her aunts or axe anybody, she uses her magic in maybe not a wrong way, but it definitely has consequences, where some of the woods are destroyed because of the spell she puts on her friends. So I thought that was super interesting, and the artwork just pops for this book, and it feels very archy and, again, very slice of life, but the colors are super vibrant. That works for a magical book, and really been enjoying this series. I think it's a great creative team, and it really marries what you probably like about Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, the TV show, and the old school comics, and makes it its own thing. So Sabrina the Teenage Witch issue 2 gets 4 stars, and that is number 4. Moving on to number 3, which is The Death of Nancy Drew, issue 2. This first issue I was wowed by. I love the twist, and now we're dealing with the twist. It does have a little bit of that issue 2 slug, because, you have this crazy issue 1. You do have to slow things down a bit. And I do like that Nancy is in control here. So is Nancy's point of view. I'm curious to see if it's going to be fully Nancy's point of view after this, but I have a feeling it's probably just going to be different characters each issue. I don't know how long this miniseries is. I'm guessing it's like a 4 or 5 issue mini. So I'm curious to see what other characters will show up. But I like that it's Nancy obviously dealing with her faking her own death. We get some answers in that regard, and how this affects her life. And we even get to see a small moment between, not really between her and her dad, but almost between her and her dad, which was cool. We get some shining moments with the Hardy Boys as they help out Nancy Drew. I will say the thing that kind of slowed this down for me is that I don't know if I'm as invested in the mystery, and this definitely delves into that mystery of who's chasing Nancy Drew. And I think for me, the thing I liked about issue 1 the most is Nancy Drew and them trying to find Nancy Drew. Now that she's here, it slows things down a bit, but I love hearing her voice, and I like seeing this kind of darker side of Nancy Drew and her working with the Hardy Boys. So I thought it was still a very solid issue, and I can't wait to see where this one goes. And I do hope that the mystery and that side of the plot picks up a bit with issue 3 and so on. And artwork is pretty solid. There's some times where I thought it was a little rushed in pieces, but overall, I do enjoy Joe Eisma's work, and I think it fits really well, especially this darker style of coloring as well. All right, Death of Nancy Drew, issue 2 gets 4 stars, and that is number 3. Moving on to number 2. I read this digitally because my store didn't have it this week, but Join the Future, issue 3. Join the Future, I've been really liking this book. I really like the thematic aspect of it, where we get to see our main character kind of lives in this old school mentality of, what her land represented, no technology, and she sees that she's going to have to use technology if she's going to want revenge against these future people. And what was interesting about the cliffhanger of this issue is that she has to either sign her life away to join this city, or does she die? It's just really interesting questions of morals, and there's even this really cool dialogue between her and I guess he was like a mercenary, he sold guns, I forget his name, but there's an interesting conversation of like, what's more important, what you believe, or to get this revenge for your family. And you might have to meld these two worlds to make what you want happen. I thought that was really interesting, and we saw that with the first issue where she has asthma and her dad used the new technology to help her breathe and help her live, and saw these two worlds meld. Maybe the old world's not perfect, maybe the new world's definitely not perfect, but if you can combine the two, can you make a better world for yourself? So some really interesting themes, like I said. Artwork is really solid, and I like to see this young girl's journey of becoming her own person and trying to figure out what our morals are in this really complicated, murky world. So I gave this 4 stars. Really solid book. I think it's totally under the radar, and I think more people should be reading it. And go check out some indies. Go check out Join the Future. So that's number 2. Moving on to number 1, and this one blew me away, and that was DCeased Dead Planet issue 1. Now I will say I actually wasn't like the biggest fan of the first volume of DCeased. I liked it, but I know a lot of people loved it, and I'm definitely starting to grow attached with this sequel. I think we definitely get to see, well, first of all, that the first arc is just setting up the story. It's really like, okay, this is the world, people are dead, now let's create our new world. And now we're really starting to get into the story. And I think just as the issue went on, it really escalated. First of all, I mean, Tom Taylor is just a master at character work, but especially character work in DC Comics and specific characters. The Superman family, he understands so well, and I love that Lois is like the president of this new Earth, and then John taking over the Superman mantle, and not feeling like he deserves it, and Lois is like, what you're doing obviously shows that you deserve it. And then we have this other side, which also Tom Taylor does really great with. We have Green Arrow and Black Canary, where they have a signal from Cyborg and like, okay, this is our friend, we're gonna go save him, and everything goes wrong. Where Wonder Woman is still zombified and hurts Green Arrow. Looks like maybe he's dead. I don't know. And obviously Black Canary goes crazy and she kills Wonder Woman. And John's like, no, don't kill her. And stabs him in the arm with this godlike sword. I don't know if John's going to be hurt from that or not, but we find out there's a cure for this. So I'm really excited for this kind of morally gray story that we know Tom Taylor is really great at doing because of Injustice Gods Among Us, with our favorite heroes in such a different lens and a much darker lens. So really enjoyed this issue. I like the grittiness of the artwork. It's really grown on me, and I think it, again, works for this world. And yeah, this is a way to start out a sequel. I think it's even better than the first volume, and excited to see where this one goes. So overall, given DCeased 4.5 stars, and that is my pick of the week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno. Let me know in the comments below, what did you think of all the comics from this week? What are your favorite picks? What are your least favorite picks? And everything in between. Go check out my Twitter and Facebook. Go check out my comics, like Father Like Daughter and They Call Her Dancer. Links for all that is in the description and in the pinned comments. And also every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time is Comic Book Weekly, our weekly comic podcast where we talk all things comics. So be sure to check that out. Thanks, guys. Bye.